And welcome back, everyone, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's suggestion comes to us from Diego Lorente, who asked the question, what is Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy's Pokemon team? Mandy's actually wasn't too difficult to create. I definitely put some placeholders in there for, other reasons. But I felt it worked. Now, I initially had a certain Pokemon as her starter. I quickly realized, though, that if I made that Pokemon her starter, when I got to the teams, when I got to the part of the video where I see whether the team could become champion or not, she would have lost every single first stage gym battle. Why? All right. First off, the Pokemon in the first Pokemon right here is just Swak. Why? Well, she's actually pretty skilled in martial arts. There's also the episode where her and Billy are like going Dragon Ball Z style at each other. So I felt just having a fighting type Pokemon and one wearing a gi, like a student would wear, was a good fit. That's what I felt. But more to the point now. Let's actually get to the Pokemon that was supposed to be your starter, and then I quickly realized the mistake. Gyarados. Mandy is known for having a bad attitude to the point where if she smiles naturally, goes against the fabric of reality. And she is nasty, she's mean, and she's intimidating. Like, her very presence scares individuals. And so I knew I needed a Pokemon that needn't intimidate. And what better than a Pokemon that's known for its outbursts? Gyarados, which I think works pretty well. But she's also very intelligent and manipulating. She wants to actually rule the world when she grows up. So, why not the only Pokemon I know that legitimately is considered evil and wants to take over things? Malamar. It's, like I said, Malamar is actually a Pokemon that is described as legitimately being evil. So I think that works well in her favor, definitely. But now we get to cut corners to the fifth one real quick. Because she want to rule the world, she would definitely want powerful Pokemon on her team. But if we're sticking with Pokemon that definitely fit her motif, Hydreigon, that literally destroys towns, powerful, pseudo-legendary, destructive, I think fits her perfectly. But then these last two. Now, one of these is Grim. We needed because she has a relationship with the Grim Reaper. He's bound to her and Billy. So I knew I needed a Pokemon to represent Grim, but Grim is the Grim Reaper. So how do you represent that? Well, there's two options I could have gone with. I could have gone with Dusknoir, because Dusknoir definitely has a bit of a Grim Reaper vibe to it, no doubt. But it's not actually death. And Grim is the Grim Reaper. He is death. So I either go Dusknoir or I go the Pokemon equivalent of death, which is Yveltal. Now, Yveltal is technically a Pokemon of destruction, not death. But if Xerneas is life, then we know this is death. This is supposed to be the Pokemon equivalent of that. And I think it makes sense because Grim is death. He is a massively powerful supernatural entity of God knows degrees. So I think that does work. That she would have like Yveltal hanging out in the winds. Like, yeah, by the way, just throws out a legendary on someone's like, what? So I think that does work. By the way, between the two, I do actually like Yveltal more. I did kind of want Xerneas initially when I was getting X and Y. But looking at it like long term, I like Yveltal more. I think Yveltal is a cool design. By the way, I'm watching Red Beard Guy's series of ranking them all. I can't wait for him to get to like Pokemon like the Chaos Pokemon. So anyway, side note. But last but not least, that fifth or sixth, or actually it's technically the fourth, but the sixth and final Mon. What would this Mon be? This massive, unstoppable, indestructible, invincible creature. Well, there is an episode where Billy is in the future. It's actually clones of Billy, but still. A future where Mandy has more or less taken over the world. And she has done this by fusing herself with a worm and becoming more or less immortal, invincible, indestructible. So I'm like, okay, is there something I can use with that? The only actual worm we really have is Earthworm. And that doesn't work. It's fine stat-wise, but it doesn't work. But there is actually one other worm that exists in Pokemon technically that we can use. Shuckle. Shuckle is based on a worm to varying degrees. And Shuckle being a bug rock type really does not have a strong amount of weaknesses. The fire weakness, the flying weakness of bug gets counteracted by the rock, gets neutralized. The ground weakness, the grass weakness of the rock gets countered by the bug. The only real weaknesses Shuckle has is water and steel. That's it. So it's already got a very defensive typing. And it's got the highest base stat defenses, special and physical, of any Pokemon, period, ever. 230 base stat defense and special defense. That is insane. It's just insane. So a near indestructible worm, I gotta go Shuckle on that. Which leads us into how strong or weak is this team. In terms of weaknesses, there's really not too much. There's a ×2 weakness from both both flyers for electric. There's a ×2 weakness from, again, both flyers for rock. ×2 weakness from the fire and the dragon type with the ice. ×2 weakness from the 2 dark types with the 2 dark types that aren't flying. Yveltal's immune to this for bug. There is, however, a ×4 weakness, the fairy, though, when it comes to Sock, Malamar, Hydreigon, and Yveltal. So there is that. However, on the strength side of things, they definitely got a better lot, at least in life here. ×2 strength against rock with your fighting a water type. You got ×2 strength against ice with your fighting and rock type. You got ×3 strength against ghost with your 3 dark types. You got ×4 strength against psychic types with your bug and 3 dark types. You got a ×2 strength against dark types with your fighting type, as well as your bug type. You've got a ×3 strength. Did I say weakness? By the way, I meant strength. You got ×4 strength against dark types with your fighting and your bug type. I already got that. What am I talking about? It's grass type. That's what I was trying to say. With your bug and your flying type. Got ×2 strength against bug with your your flying and your technically with your 2 flying. And your rock. But I didn't count Gyarados on this because Gyarados really doesn't learn any flying moves. It's just flying for whatever reason. And you got ×2 strength against fighting with your flying type as before, and your psychic type with Malamar. In terms of how well this team can do, I'm going to cut to the chase right now. You would become champion of Kanto with this team. There would not be, honestly, any trainer you would struggle with. Sock takes care of Brock early. You'd be able to have Gyarados and Sock early for next gym. Starmie, despite being psychic, would not be able to handle that level of power. Surge would be able to take down the Gyarados, but Sock and Inkay should be able to handle it, no problem. Sock's physical attack is immense. And then at that point, you have Shuckle, which is going to completely straight out neg all of Erica, so you can just keep swapping him in. Koga, you'll have no issue with. The only issue this team actually faces in any of these regions is the fact that you don't get Hydreigon until level 64. So there's going to be times where you don't even have him for the Elite Four. Case in point, this one. But honestly, all the gym leaders shouldn't be a problem. Even the Elite Four, despite having some weaknesses to ice, you've also got a Sock on the team that can handle ice no problem, and Shuckle is going to resist a lot of that. That being said, it is a combination of ice and water, so you do need to be careful with your Shuckle on that. Bruno is not going to be an issue really at all. You should be able to handle him with honestly, you should be able to handle him with Yveltal, no problem. Same with Agatha being ghost and poison. You're going to take care of her ghost, no problem. Just muscle through her poisons. Lance's dragons honestly aren't all that impressive in this case. You still have Zoelis, which would still, get the job done. And Yveltal is still going to be able to muscle through over them. And then you'll be able to handle Pidgeot. No, not too much issue. You can bring in Malamar. It's also going to be able to handle Alakazam. Rhydon, you can bring in Sock again. You shouldn't be able to have any issue with Johto whatsoever. Or sorry, Hoenn. Kanto. What the hell am I talking about? Kanto. Now, unfortunately, Johto's a no. you're already going to struggle with Sock against Pidgeot and Pidgey. Even though they don't really know much in terms of the way of like moves, it's still a type disadvantage that you have no real strength against. So honestly, you're probably not even going to get past the first gym. Even if you do, you then got to try to get through Bugsy, who's going to resist your fighting type moves, and you're still only going to have a Magikarp. So there's actually no point in talking about the rest of this because you're not going to be able to get through the rest of the gyms. Even if you could get past Bugsy, you would get past Whitney and then stall at frickin' Morty because you won't have a Malamar at that point. And it might be Psychic Dark, but it's still under evolved. Shuckle's defenses are great, but it's not good against ghosts. So you're going to kind of be SOL here. The only thing you really got going for you is Bite on Gyarados, and that thing's not going to make it forever. So yeah, you couldn't become champion of Johto, sadly. You also, I don't think you become champion of Hoenn, but that's not because the gyms are the problem. You honestly should, well, not struggle with Roxanne. Probably, maybe you'll have a little bit of an issue, but not too much. And Watson, everything else really is not that big of an issue. Once you get to Liza and Tate, you'll have Gyarados who will know water moves. You'll have a Psychic Dark type to resist psychic moves. So it's once you get to the Elite Four. Sydney shouldn't be that big of an issue. You've got both flying and fighting type moves, so you should be fine. Same with Phoebe. It's not till you get to Glacia where the ice type's going to be a problem. Because if we look at like Ruby and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it's Glades, Frostlasses, and a Walrein. You're going to struggle hard against that team. Even with having a fighting type, you're negated. Your ghost type negates that. So then you're going to have to bring in Malamar, which is going to use up a turn. She's going to hit that thing. If you're not careful, you're going to lose your entire team. And then you got to go up against Drake. And Drake's team, quite frankly, is going to steamroll most of this team. You don't have a good answer with Sock. Gyarados can only do so much. It can't naturally really learn any ice moves. Yveltal and Zweilous, which is what you would have at this point, are the only things that can really do much on against this. And even then, they're going to be struggling hard. So I think it's a no. Even if you could get past Drake, I don't think you get past Steven because this team does not do well against Steel. Except for Swak, who is like the only one who's got any real moves against Steel types. And that thing's going to go down pretty hard because you go up against a Skarmory first and foremost. And there's a Metagross on the team. So, no. Sinnoh is a maybe. Now, the only gym leader you're going to really have a problem with is Gardenia. And that's because she's got 3 Mon, a Cherub, a Cherubi, a Turtwig, and a Roserade. That Roserade is going to be a problem. Gyarados, you could have a Gyarados at this point, which means the flying type will help resist that, but that's it. At best, you got Bite. And Sock is just kind of neutral, especially if you go up against Roserade, which is poison type. So it's going to be tough go. Otherwise, you could get through the Elite Four. Once you get to Cynthia, though, it's tough because that Spiritomb you do not have an answer for because Ghost resists Bug. So even with your one Bug type, there's no good answer here. Chances are you're going to lose at least a Mon taking that Spiritomb down, if not more than one. My guess is you would probably end up losing Shuckle. And maybe Gyarados can bring in the win. But then they're going to bring in any one of their other Mon. Roserade probably be the likely choice. And it knows other things besides grass moves, so you're going to be struggling there. Milotic, I believe, knows Ice Beam, so your Dragon type and your Flying type are going to be screwed. I don't think it's impossible because by the time you get to like say your Garchomp, you may still have Hydreigon, or because I think she's in the 60s, so you actually should have a Hydreigon. You might still have Hydreigon and definitely have a Yveltal, but it'd be tough. It'd be a tough go. Cynthia, I think, is a maybe. Unova is a straight out no. You'd struggle immediately in Black and White 2 with Roxy because you just wouldn't have. It's not a clear loss, but it'd be tough. You actually wouldn't have any problem with Lenora. By the way, both Charon and the 3 brothers, no problem. But more to the point, Berg is a problem because he's a bug type trainer and you wouldn't have any good options. He's also got bug grass on the team and bug poison. So he quad resists your fighting type. You won't have a fully evolved Inkay yet. And even so, Psychic's not good against Bug anyway, and it's Dark type, so it's weak. It's quad weak to Bug. The only thing you really got going for you is Gyarados, and I don't think that's going to cut it. I think you kind of stop at Berg. Even if you didn't, you'd probably get to the Elite Four no problem. But both Elite Four members are pretty much not going to be able. You're not going to be able to get through them. Or champions. Alder's Acelgor outspeeds Sock, so that's going to be problematic. You're going to have to switch into something else, which is already going to have to take the hit. So Shuckle's probably going to be it. Then you're going to have to try to switch into Yveltal or something like that. Yveltal might even go down because you have to try to take out the Acelgor or the Hydreigon. And then he's going to bring out Vanillux and just ice beam the shit out of those things, because I believe Vanillux is really fast. So you're already going to be down your two heaviest hitters. And he hasn't even begun yet. So I don't see that being likely. And then Iris, despite being a dragon type trainer, Hydreigon, it's going to be a tough go. Plus Haxorus. Don't forget freaking Aggron, Lapras, Archeops. I believe she has Dredagon. Either way, no, I don't think it looks good at all. So I don't think you could be Unova champion. You're honestly stopped to Viola and Kalos because Bug. You're not getting past the Bug. Sock's not going to be a good matchup here. And that Vivian knows Gus too, so it's just insult on the injury. So yeah, I just don't think. I think it's a no there as well, just straight from the get. Galar, honestly, you're going to struggle with Opal. That's where you're going to have your first big struggle. Because this team is severely weak to fairy types. And she is if I remember correctly, the 6th gym leader? Or 5th gym leader. So you wouldn't have Yveltal yet. You wouldn't even have Zoelis. You'd just have this. You'd have Dino. Which means you're in trouble against her. Even if you could get past her, you're still, once again, stuck at Leon. You're going to start with Sock. Because that's how it's always played out. Start that. Aegislash comes out. You got to switch into either Malamar or Hydreigon, which is going to allow then Aegislash to get a move in. King Shield's going to protect it certainly, but then once again Dragapult comes in, that thing can still end up sweeping almost all of this team. Hydreigon's the only one where you actually would have, and maybe Malamar, where you'd actually have a little bit of difficulty in doing that. Just because of the stat lines on Hydreigon, so Dragon Breath probably isn't going to put it down immediately. And you don't really have it doesn't have a type specific advantage against Malamar. It's got the stat advantage, but doesn't have the type advantage. Even if you do manage, I think the Hydreigon is going down. Even if you manage to take it down with, say, Malamar, then Haxorus comes out. If it's Swords Dance once, Dragon Dances once, you're done. And then you still got to deal with whatever the remaining 2 Mon are, plus the Charizard. I just don't see it happening. Finally, Paldea. The long and short of this actually is, if you can get past Katie and Iono, yes, you could become champion. I don't think any of the Elite Four are all that tough for this team. You have enough balance with your team here to be able to get through a lot of them. The only problem is you're not getting through Katie. Because Katie's another bug leader, and you're starting with a fighting type. So, yeah, not look good looking, unfortunately. But there are definitely regions you can baby champion with this team. Definitely. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Did you like this team, or would you change it up? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.